Inwards, outwards. Inwards, outwards.
Thank you, Jenny and Ronnie and all the singers. Okay, next up is Debbie Chesky here. Debbie Chesky? Oh, she's not. Did we discuss that? We love you, Debbie Chesky. Next up is a popular favorite and an old-timey IOL buddy of mine. I'd like to welcome Mr. Eric Reinhardt.
Old-timey and neighbory. We were neighbors for 10 years almost. Thank you, Jenny. That was sweet. Harvest. It makes me think of home and warmth and friends and family around the table and sharing food and stories and laughter and love. And I wrote a song called Our Backyard, and it's about memories and tells a story of that, a couple of different stories. So here it is. There's a wizard in the corner looking over every shoulder of every flower in Henrik's garden. There's a very small pond in the middle with some goldfish and lilies in bloom. Oh yeah. And it's peaceful and it's quiet in the middle of this riot. And it's far from grandiose, but we like it in our backyard. Our backyard. There's some pictures in the kitchen, little snapshots of the family stuck with magnets to the fridge. And the faces in the photos, they are genuinely smiling, so happy to be together. And the old smiles greet the young smiles. The young smiles, they bring new smiles. A collection of timeless memories. They take me back to a time when we were kids and our families would throw parties in a big backyard on Long Island. Uncle Jim manning the grill. In tradition, my dad would climb to the rooftop with his camera, a scotch in one hand, shouting out directions like Cecil B. DeMille. Truly, he would sit there and go, now you guys, a little to the right, a little to the right, over here, a little to the left. All right, now everybody smush in. Then Cousin Dave would make a face that would snap all the other cousins into stitches. And the perfect family photo would erupt into a cavalcade of laughter. And then finally, we got quiet in the middle of this riot. Somehow Dad managed to get everyone interviewed in our backyard. now I'm sitting with the fishes by the pond. My mind, it has grown quiet as I sing this little song about old smiles greeting young smiles, and the young smiles bringing new smiles. Miles and miles, a collection of timeless memories. In our backyard, a tisket, a tasket, a little yellow basket. In our backyard. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Eric. That was awesome. Could see it and feel it deeply, and not only because I'm no stranger to Long Island backyards. And who doesn't know about family photos on Fringe, for sure. It's such like a simple life pleasure. So we are moving right along, and next up is Eileen Marcus. Oh, Eileen, I didn't say good morning. Sorry. Okay, hold on. I'll fill some time. So take your time. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, do you know why? Because Amelia asked for a moment. Okay. Another fabulous girl from Long Island.
Yeah. I wouldn't call Long Island fabulous, but
I said
fabulous.
women. Look at what the place produces.
I know, and we all left.
Exactly, and ended up here. So without further
Thank
ado,
you.
the fabulous Eileen.
I didn't plan anything. I'm harvesting, I think about harvesting hope, and I'm looking at this setting, and I see a lot of hearts, and I'm thinking about what harvest means in transplants. It's my friends and I talk about medical issues a lot, and I'm thinking about, harvest, and I'm thinking about a country walk and holding the hand of my lover as we walk down the street, and I think about this hand. It has a story. Came from a very important store in the Berkshires, the $1.25 store. It is a staple. You see everyone in there, and they have the most fabulous stuff. And, it's become the point that, Halloween is now what? They brought it up in, Labor Day, right? So you you have to really plan your harvest, and you have to really harvest early, because if you don't get the good things early, they are gone when you go back for Halloween, even though they've had this stuff out for 9 weeks, right? So I'm buying all this stuff. And I ignored my own cardinal rule. Do you know my own cardinal rule of shopping? Always take a cart. Even if you're going in for nothing, I just need a pack of gum, take a cart. Because what happens when you just need a pack of gum? You harvest other things. Things show up that you need, things you didn't think you saw, they show up. So I did not take a cart, and I never take, I never take one of those things. I always take the cart. I like to roll around, a little bit like a walker, helps me out, works very well, I'm stable, they see me coming. And as I'm doing checkout, and I'm trying to, get my money and look at things, I realize that I am holding this hand. That's not even the funny part. The funny part is, I think it's more alive than my last boyfriend. I think it is, it's really there, it's right with me, it's not moving, it's solid, it's connecting, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this metaphor? And I remember my mother's words, and I know my mother is still alive, she's 87, we have a interesting relationship, but she always used to say to me, you reap what you sow, and I'm thinking, harvest, you reap what you sow, and I'm thinking, I love this little hand, and you know what? Someday it's going to be a full hand and a full body attached, and it's going to have flesh, and this is just practice. But when I was sitting there in the dollar store, they must have thought I was crazy, because I was like, I couldn't let go of it, It was with me. So I don't really have, I didn't really plan this, and then it came up so quick. So I'm going to do for my last 2 minutes. I'm going to do the Harvest Improv. Throw out words. Deb Kaufman used to love when I did this. And there's a lot of things that say if you want to be a speaker, you want to be a talent, never do improv. If we all watch Mrs. Maisel, we know that. Never do improv. But Deb always loved when I did it. And she always said, do it again. You know, and she used to sit there, another one. So I'm going to do improv. So it's Harvest. It's my hand. And who's got something they want me to riff on? Who's got what? Human. That's a good question these days with AI. Is it human? Who's learning from who? Humane, human being, dead end beings. But you know, the thing about being human is, I think we all come to the same place. And given that it's harvest and we talk about, you know, Halloween and cemeteries, I did a lot of gardening this summer. And I want to tell you, being human, and I'm Jewish, I'm going to be buried. I'm not going to be cremated because that's just something I believe in my faith. And being human, I want you to know that I have a new respect for those worms in the ground. Because and instead of like, oh, a worm, I'm like, hi, little worm, be nice to me. You know, when I come live in your place, hi, little worm. So I think the human condition is just something that we really don't get it until we're almost not human anymore. Another one? Third hand. Another one? Anyone?
Butternut squash.
I'm sorry? Butternut squash. Let me tell you something about butternut squash. There are 3 things I do not like, which I'm afraid to speak out loud in the Berkshires. Would you like to know what they are? Yoga. I cannot stand yoga. The second one, I gotta say it, I'm sorry, Tanglewood. I cannot stand the crowd. I cannot stand the parking, the new drop-off lane, the mile walk to the bathroom. And the third one is butternut squash. I mean, if that stuff isn't overdone, and I love the food co-op, but you know, you go and it's on the buffet and there are these big chunks, they're not even cooked. And then by the end of the day, they're overcooked or they're not seasoned right. And you know, butternut squash soup is a little like brisket. You know the thing about brisket? Every Jewish mother makes the best one. Everybody I know makes the best butternut squash soup. It's the best. It's the best. I have yet to find the best. So I will say no to yoga, no to Tanglewood, butternut squash. I'm moving on, even though orange is my favorite color. So thank you very much and happy harvest.
Wow. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you for reminding me. Something that I know and I always know and I keep coming back to is that for me, everything's a story. And I that's why I'm a storyteller. This is like new for me. I think I'm gonna go Amelia. Yeah. Because I didn't really have a plan. I have like my notebook that I was gonna maybe look through, but what I want to riff on is what I'm harvesting is, well, my first decade in the Berkshires, and I'm sort of a toe into my presumably second decade in the Berkshires. So I'm in the beginning of something, right? But also on the heels of lots of work, lots of something, right? And well, what's the next? See, the thing is, there's so many tributaries. Like there's so many stories or avenues to take. So maybe I'll start here because it brings you back to Deb. My son is almost 4, and he started preschool, and so I'm like pretty good at getting out of the house in the morning and not dance. I won't go into it; it's not exciting. But amidst my things are Deb Kaufman's little soul support cards. And Gabriel loved blue. Blue is his favorite color. So he, the other morning, somehow like just only pulled the blue ones and brought them into the car. And I'm thinking like, oh no, I don't want them to get lost, which is so silly because everything's fleeting and Deb wouldn't care and neither would I. But he has the blue ones in the back when we're driving to school, and he's saying how he's going to give one to each of his friends, but he saved more for himself. Like it was more like 1 for you, 2 for me, 1 for you, 2 for me. But then, without my saying anything, I had this slight concern about them getting lost from the pack. before we arrived at school, he handed them each to me one at a time. I'm driving Prius. Okay, thank you. But like, whoa, you know, what a sweet infusion. And they were all great, but the one that is standing out for me, in part thanks to Eileen, was be willing to feel the truth. That I think it must have been this morning. It's hitting me hard. And what that means. Well, it can mean anything, but regardless, even if the truth is hard, it still feels good to just feel it and be in the moment in that way. So I'm thankful for that. So that's one of the messages I'm harvesting. Yeah, and I think I have more to say, but I'm going to take a pause and like reset and introduce our next guest, and then like to be continued. My grandmother Lucy used to say when she was telling a story, she would hold your wrist. Wait a while. Yeah, like it's gonna get, it'll get better. So wait a while. And in the meantime, I have a fabulous storyteller for you, Miss Amelia Sidlowski.
Between the mics.
I just said your name. You did? Yeah. Did you guys hear it? Yes. I just said it once again. I did not. I don't hear well, guys. The fabulous Miss. What?
Just have to stand in the middle of the mics.
Oh, like that? Miss? No, I don't. I'm so short. I'm so small. It feels weird. It feels weird. Like you tell Amelia where to stand. Amelia Sidlowski.
Now, I went out to the car to get this. Last month I was like this all the time because that light just gets, I can't see you. And I'm here to see you as well as you seeing me. Got it? Good. Get it, got it, good. Remember that?
Got it. Cool hat.
What dear?
Cool hats.
Cool hat. Yes, I'm a volunteer at the Mahiwi. So we've been awarded a hat. Big time, really big time. I don't know from harvest. I'm not a farmer. I got a couple of flowers, but that's it. But I looked at my book and something came up this week that I was reminded of the World's Fair in 1964. Now, I opened the restaurant in September 25th, 1963. And that was an auspicious year for me. But in November, Kennedy was assassinated. So that was another big thing. The papers, I had a write-up, and it came that weekend. So people all read it, which was really cool for me, but not for him. Anyway, that was part of the 1 year. And then with the World's Fair opening, someone came to us and said, hey, we've got, I don't know, a pavilion or something like that. Would you like a spot in it to sell the ice cream? This was, anyway, we thought it was like, we really seriously thought about it. The fee was not that horrific. I don't know what it was, but it was doable. And that but we started thinking about it, and we had the restaurant going, and then we'd have to be in the World's Fair going, and how are we going to do it all? We'd be sleeping under the counters, in the fair, and who knows what else, right? So it just sort of felt like, what are we doing here? And we would have killed each other, that's for sure. You can't go through that kind of a craziness. So we decided not to do it, and it was such a big relief not having to juggle like that. I like the simplicity of one place to go, one place to do what I learned how to do, and be content with what came out of that. We almost killed each other later on in our relationship, but not that time. I threw a knife at him and he pulled, he ripped the phone out of the wall. And that was the end of our relationship. He ended up sleeping, you should find it, in the bathroom. He put a board over the tub and a mattress over the board, and he made himself a little, because the apartment was mine. You know how things go like that, don't you? You know? Things, we never think of those times. But they happen. And all of a sudden, you know, he's there and I'm home. And we had to kind of make a life of that. We were together all the time. We slept together. We ate together. We went to the shop together. We didn't have a conversation because we knew it. We were both there at the same time. There's nothing new to talk about, you know? So we had to just pay. It just got up to here, and we just blew up at each other, which was, you know, reasonable. I didn't kill him, he didn't kill me. And we ended amicably. Took a while, but we ended amicably. And then, after that, I had another thought, but I don't remember what it is. Time goes by, and but ultimately I bought him out. We had this beautiful unicorn on our mantle. It's a iron unicorn. They used to make gateposts with a unicorn and a lion, the British signs, and we had one of them. And someone was going to sell us one just before we broke up. But we didn't think we needed another one. Except after we broke up, I was out one night, and he came in and found it and took it away. So I was sans unicorns. One always needs one once in a while, really. Yeah. So anyway, I got rid of him, and I got rid of the unicorn. And I had to run the restaurant on my own. And I did that for 3 years, and that's where I learned to cook and do all of that great stuff. So I'm already proud of that. There was an evolution of it, and it's part of my growing. You know, really got to know who I was and who I wasn't. And I'm so grateful for that. I taught myself things. I rose to the occasions. You know, I never expected that I was capable of any of that. I had no idea. And there I was. So anyway, I think that's enough. I love all of you. I'm so glad you're here tonight. And I'll look forward to hearing the rest of you.
If I didn't have the button, I would borrow it. Oh, I stand in the middle, right? You want to leave it like on the mic?
I want it back though, and it's there, and someone needs to take it from me. Really? Okay. We're getting a lot of free action.
I know. Okay. Thank you, Amelia. We love you too. My parents' first date was the 1964 World's Fair. And they have pictures, which I always thought was funny, like as a kid, like, you took pictures on your first date? But I didn't understand that if you're going to the World's Fair, it's like a thing, and you want to take pictures of it. My mom has like a bouffant. Yeah, thank you for the reminder of so many lifetimes in a lifetime. A lot of good quotes from tonight. Sans unicorn. That was one of Amelia's. So she was sans unicorn I'd love to, for the, the unicorns, that's the thing, they come and go. Okay, up next, up for some music, we have Steve Mole. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here like everybody is. The first Tuesday of the month should be mandatory, right? You gotta show up. Gotta show up. So the Guthrie Center started their church service again this past Sunday, first Sunday of the month, and the theme or the talk was about self-love. Woo-hoo. Some people you say that to, they say, "What, are you crazy?" But how many times do you ever say, "I love myself" out loud? Never. So sometimes I supply the music, and I found this song on the internet. It's called "I Love Myself." I know. It's not as bad as it sounds. Then I do have a harvest song. I love myself the way I am. Nothing I need to change. I'll always be the perfect me. Nothing to rearrange. I'm beautiful, capable of being the best that I can. And I love just the way I am. I love you just the way you are. There's nothing you need to do. When I feel the love inside myself, it's easy to love you. Behind your fears, your rage and tears, I see your shining star. And I love you just the way you are. I love the world the way it is, 'cause I can clearly see that all the things I judge are done by people just like me. Until the birth of peace on earth that only love can bring, I will help it grow by loving everything. I love myself the way I am, but I'd still like to grow. But change outside can only come from deep inside, I know. Until the birth of peace on earth that only love can bring, I will help it grow by loving everything. I love you just the way you are. There's nothing you need to do. When I feel the love inside of you, it's easy to love you. Behind your fears, your rage and tears, I see your shining star. And I love you just the way you are. You're beautiful, you're capable of doing the best that you can. And I love you just the way you are. I love you just the way you are. All right, well. All right. Thank you very much. So, do you want to play Name That Tune? This does have to do with this time of year, this song, so that's a hint. All right? You're only going to get 4 notes. I tried that, but it went back down. Huh? Oh, okay. All right.
Who wrote the last song?
There was a fellow by the name of J.I.A. Johnson, I think his name is. But he wrote it. There was a lady, I didn't write her name down, but she was all into therapy and stuff about loving yourself. And that's where that's. But if you Google it, I Love Myself, there's a group of people singing it in a circle, and they're singing it fast, and it's so much fun. You know, they're all singing it to each other, like, or something. It's pretty cool. All right, name this tune. Let's see. Let's see. La da da dee. That's absolutely correct. And plus, the notes I was singing wasn't even close to the right thing. So, good job there. Autumn Leaves. I used to have to practice this when I took piano lessons when I was a kid, and I had to play every note perfect, but I always thought I had a real nice melody. I'll sing it. Let's see. You can sing with me if you want.
What is the worst?
The Falling Leaves. The falling leaves, come on, help me, drift by my window. The autumn leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold. Since you went away, the days grow long, and still I hear old winter song. But I miss you most of all, my darling, when autumn leaves start to fall. Well, thank you very much.
Steve, okay. Moving right along. The irony is I need the hat, but I can't with the bun. It'll mess up the look, Yeah. What are you going to do? But, now I totally understand, yeah. Oh, wait, and the other thing, I'm going to riff for a minute again, back to Eileen's, that I was at the $1.25 store today with a basket. And actually, I related. Prior to that, I had an eye appointment. So I was trying to be like a responsible adult human. I think it's been 2 years. Oh, okay. So it took me 6 months to get an appointment. And so I went, in an irksome way because I didn't feel like giving up my precious time to go to get my eyes checked. But I did. And I had a whole plan for the afternoon before my arrival here. And again, my time is precious. And so my eyes were great, but the tech person says, oh, and we're going to dilate your eyes so the doctor can see. And I was like, oh, can I like drive? And she didn't seem to mind. She was like, yeah, it's fine. You're nearsighted. So, you just won't be able to like read. And I'm thinking, okay, I was going to like go to the Big Y and like do a whole bunch of other things. And so they did it. She did it. And so I left with my pupils like ginormous. And it was kind of interesting because I couldn't see the phone, which was a great exercise. It's a really good awareness about how I even wear a watch. I love looking at my watch, but there's a whole lot of other things I can look at the phone for. So it was great. I had a few hours where I was not so able to like check the texts or whatever silly, check the weather or whatever silly weird things I'm doing. Unnecessary, right? Yes, and one of the places that I did go also was the dollar store with my sunglasses on, and also went for one thing and ended up getting a whole bunch of like things, as one does, and lastly, or maybe more continuing the point, is back to my harvest. So I've realized that. Like I said before, everything's a story for me. And I've been in this place of kind of like remembering, well, like totally loving myself, Steve Mull. Like, like really actually, like maybe for the first time, like really, like, oh, here you are. Hey, like you're pretty great, right? Thank you. Like what's great is like, of course, like we all seek the external validation, like I've been doing that my whole life since I was a little 7-year-old at the party, my teenage brother and sisters, brother and sister, bopping around, just thinking that all the teenagers were my friends. Like I didn't get that they weren't there like to hang out with me. My brother and sister are like 18 months apart, and then I came 11 years later. And so they'd have these like epic keggers in a Long Island backyard. And there was Kristen, like 6, 5, just running around the backyard barefoot, like, and they're all, kind of wasted. And like, I'm sure that was funny and fun, right? And so that's a fun part of me. I'm remembering, I'm remembering that little girl who just like wanted attention, but also really loved being understood, seen and understood. And oh man, it feels so good to find her and to honor that part of me. And a big part of it is my identity. And this venue, this specific space, it's been a long time. It's been over a decade that I've been here doing some version of this. And recently, as some of you know, I started working more for Berkshire Arts Center, formerly IS-183, who we love. And it's been really wonderful to be surrounded by artists in that way. I've been an educator for a long time, over 20 years. I still am. But to be in and around artists in that way is so beautiful and nourishing to watch people making art for the sake of it. And so it comes up sometimes now. People say, oh, what's your medium? What are you an artist? Because I think everyone on our staff does something, makes things or does things. And it's interesting how my response to that has changed just even over the past weeks. So I usually will nervously say, oh, well, I'm a writer, but well, I teach kids, which all of this is true. I do a little bit of everything, also true. And then it occurred to me, and I do say, well, I'm a storyteller. It feels so easy to say. Oh, well, yeah, I tell stories. I've been known, been known to like host open mics here and there, you know. And then taking it a step further, I realized, oh, I'm a performance artist. Duh. Like, and thank you. and furthermore, you know, because of that, my whole existence is the performance. So what a joy to be able to say, oh, I have time for my art because I am it. I'm living it. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm so proud to be living my life right now in a way that's like loud and seen, and like foibled and messy and beautiful. And, I'm not afraid to do it with an open heart. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that journey with me. Yeah. So the next time I do or say something dumb, it's just, you know, it's all art. And actually, there's a good one here where all art in the eyes of death. That's like a great. Yeah, I was vibing on that later. So. Okay, so we have more fabulous storytellers coming right up. So next up is Miss Susan Solovey.
Hi, gang. So you want me between these, right?
Between the lines.
I almost sat down at the piano because when I think of harvest, the first thing that came to me is a Neil Young song. It's 1972, and I'm at the piano, probably a little stoned, learning the chords to the new Neil Young song, Harvest, from my best friend, Bobby Bilkowitz. He and I sing Beatles, Dylan, Procol Harum, everything. But Neil Young is the best because we both can imitate his voice so well. Well, I see you give more than I can take, but I only harvest some. He plays guitar, I bang on the piano. We've been best friends since 4th grade, on and off. Bilkowitz is not his real name. And that's because as this story progresses, it may have some unsavory details, and I don't want them flying around the internet. We met in 4th grade. It was love at first sight. He had green, mischievous eyes, a big, wide smile, lots of freckles, like a really good-looking Alfred E. Newman. He was the class clown, and I loved to laugh. We snapped our rubber book straps at each other. We made jokes, passed notes, and, of course, had so much fun that the teacher had to separate us because she had accidentally seated us together. I was put in the first row. Bilky was put in the back row, exiled. It didn't matter. Love always wins out. In 5th grade, I confided in my closest girlfriend that I had a crush on Bilky. To my surprise, so did she. That was okay. We weren't doing anything about a crush. In fact, what we then did is we told a few other girls, and they said they had a crush on Bilky. And then there was 7 of us who had a crush on Bilky. And we made the Bobby Bilkowitz Romance Club. And you know what we did? We spent our afternoons looking for where the boys were. Roaming pack of bubblegum chewing 11-year-olds looking for Bilky, whether he was on the street playing punch ball, in someone's backyard playing hoops, or at Kelly Park playing hockey. And we could hang on the fence and say lovely things, and the boys would just completely ignore us. I'm sure they loved the attention, but they never acknowledged that we were there. One day, in a fever pitch, looking for our beloved Bilky, my friend Francine and I found a piece of chalk and started writing SS and BB love each other, and Francine and Bilky, and we wrote on the sidewalks, we wrote on the telephone poles. We wrote until there was no more place to write anything, and we were on his block. So at the end of that feverish moment, we went, oh my God, we have to erase it. You can't do that. In fact, within a minute or so of rubbing my name off the telephone pole, I got a splinter. And we went home. I was so frightened, so ashamed. We prayed for rain. Interestingly, I didn't even want to go to school the next day. You know that kind of shame. But I went, and Bilky never even noticed it. Boys, they're not even looking. We went into different classes in 6th grade, and we each moved on to different infatuations. It was over. But then, in the fall of 9th grade, we were both single. Bilky asked me to go steady. He gave me his chunky silver ID bracelet. That meant we could walk home together, and we could talk on the phone together and make jokes all night. After a week or two, in the still of the night, we decided we would get married. And we made a vow in 1975. This was like 65. We would get married. We even wrote it out on a beautiful cardboard certificate. I found it recently. But, you see, I was 13 at the time, and no one's more fickle than a 13-year-old girl. I was over him in a few weeks. He was available. Who needed him anymore? I broke it off, and we did not talk for years. However, in the senior year of high school, I had a boyfriend, he had a girlfriend, so it was safe for us to be friends again. He got a car, and we went to concerts. We played hooky. He would drive me down to Nathan's in Coney Island, and he taught me how to eat lobster rolls instead of frankfurters, you know? He was a classy guy. He knew who Janis Joplin was and who Cream was, and he took me to the Fillmore East. He was the best friend a girl could have. I got him a job at my father's drugstore on Flatbush Avenue, and he was thrilled. 6 months later, he quit the job and told me he was flying to California to see his girlfriend. I asked, how can you afford that? And he told me he had been skimming money every day from the cash register of that drugstore. Suddenly, I looked at my friend in a new light. I started thinking, he's always been a little slippery with the truth. Makes things up now and then, and you laugh. It wasn't funny anymore. I checked a few stories with his friends, and they were like, no, that never happened. And that was the beginning of the end. I untangled myself. Did I tell him he was a liar and a cheat? Maybe not. I was a kind of a chicken and not a truth teller then. But I moved to New York City and started my life at Cooper Union and simply never called him again. You know, in the old days, you could lose people. There was no internet. There was no Facebook. I completely lost track of him. So it was a surprise to hear from him in about 1983. I was in advertising, living on St. Mark's Place, doing really well. He was a married man with 2 kids, and he was a shrink of all things. And he had a major job, supervising a clinic in the Bronx. There was only one problem. He was having a torrid affair with one of his clients. And he told me that. This time, I was a truth teller. I was like, that's disgusting. I can't even speak to you. Why are you doing that? I'm in therapy. My shrink never. It was so wrong. And I knew we could never be friends again. But here's a fact about a harvest. You reap what you sow. Bilky the con man wove a life of lies. A few years later, I learned he was disbarred from his profession and out of work. Is it really horrible that I think that's great? That I think I'm glad that the truth went out?
Thank you, Susan. Great. So we have just a few more tonight. And next up, we have a special treat because we don't get her many months of the year, Miss Julie Balter.
I'm okay. All right, so the theme was harvest. I think that my sub-theme would be you reap what you sow. And I love what you said earlier about how everything is a story, because when I was cobbling this together very quickly this afternoon, thinking about my past weekend and everything, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So I'm telling you this. So Friday, as you might remember, it was this horrible, rainy, miserable day. And New York City, it was declared a state of emergency. The subways were shut down, the trains were shut down. And it wasn't like there was a hurricane. It was just like, bad weather. It was just a bad, rainy day. But, there was the waterfalls in the subway station. Now, I was scheduled to go to the city the next day. I had tickets to see a show, and this was, of my almost 5 months here, this was the one weekend that I had saved to go to the city and see a show. And I was so happy that the next day things cleared up. I was able to get on my train and go. It's just this faint drizzle. And the show that I saw, which was unbelievable, is Merrily We Roll Along, which is the Stephen Sondheim revival. And when it first came out on Broadway years and years ago as a flop, it shut down after 16 performances. But it resuscitated itself. It was amazing. The kid from Harry Potter was in it, Daniel Radcliffe, wonderful. Jonathan Groff, who from Hamilton, is just exquisite. And the show is about the intersection of art and ambition. And it's, on one hand, it's this cautionary tale of when ambition eclipses art. And on another, it's just a commentary on life and how we're all just doing the best we can. And as we grow older, we're just, sometimes life leads us instead of us leading them. And one character strays too far from his values. The other, as he ages, he is so stuck in his beliefs from when he was a young man. He can't move, he can't grow. And then the other, the woman is such an idealist in wanting to believe in the sanctity of these three friends, of the possibility of these three friends, that she puts this before herself and she completely loses herself. And the show starts with the dissolution of the friendship as older adults, and then at the end is when you see them fresh and innocent as young artists just starting out. And because I just cried. And the next day, back in the Berkshires, it was beautiful day. As beautiful on Sunday as lousy it was on Friday. And I had one more thing to do on my list, especially because it was so beautiful. I wanted to take a drive in my convertible to go see some fall foliage before I left. So I decided to drive up to the Clark Museum, and I'm listening to the soundtrack on the show, and I'm crying, and I'm thinking about my own friendship. When we were kids, when we were 13 years old, we were drama kids, and we used to sing the soundtrack to Merrily We Roll Along when it just came out. And then, we just belted it out with all our hearts. And then this girl who was our ringleader, she was like a mean girl, right? And then she cut me. And then even as an adult, we reunited on Facebook. And what do you think? Sure enough, she cut me again. Like, what were you going to think? And she blocked me as if we were like still 13 years old. But I'm listening to the soundtrack and I'm remembering the good times, like in the show and the youth. And there was this part of me that really wanted just, to reach out to her, because the thing is that in the show they're always just 2 degrees off from salvaging their friendship. And I just thought, what if we were just 2 degrees off? Could you go back? And then I just said, no, wait a minute. I'm sounding like the girl in the play who was idealistic, who just was losing herself and believing in an idealism that didn't exist. And I just said, F that. I'm not, that thought came and passed. And I got to Williams College, and fun fact, at Williams College, don't know if you know this, is where they filmed the most quintessential movie of lost youth and art, was The Way We Were, with Barbara Streisand and Robert Redford, right? There's no more iconic movie than that. And I went to Papa Charlie's for lunch, where every sandwich is named after a famous actor. And I ordered the Jean Shalit sandwich, which I always get, the pastrami sandwich. And then it occurred to me, does anybody at Williams College in 2023 know who Jean Shalit is? Are they going to, at some point, retire his name from the sandwich? Is he going to, lose his sandwich status? Or will he forever be the Reuben sandwich? We don't know the outcome. So I hope somebody will go to Papa Charlie's and, keep me posted on this. And, and then, of course, when I was driving, as this beautiful day, fall foliage, as you know, because this was such a wet, warm September, it was it was as if the trees were washed in brown shellac, and then they had fallen. And I started these young kids at Williams College, are facing and inheriting our environment. Do they have that same freshness that they had in The Way We Were, or Merrily We Roll Along? What are they thinking, inheriting this? And, people were just walking around there. It was 80 degrees on September 1st, and beautiful sunshine. And I walked past the Image Theater, and they were playing the revival of Stop Making Sense by the Talking Heads. And I thought, you just can't get more poetic than this, just seeing this title. And then I ended up at the Clark Museum, and we were all just sunbathing by the fountain on this 80 degree, or almost 80 degree October 1st fall day, and just enjoying the warmth of the sun on the face and the beauty, and then just also kind of sitting with the fact that we're inheriting an 80 degree fall day, and sort of blinded by the sun on this fall day. So.
Lisa Drew. Wow. Good night. No, not good night yet. So we have 1, 2, 3 more folks tonight. So next up we have a little more music for you, Mr. Tom Norton. You built the stool.
I like a stool.
Need anything else? Talk amongst yourselves.
I thought you were going to say that you got a sandwich named Stephen Sondheim. That's his alma mater.
So the theme was harvest, so that only meant one thing to me, and you brought it up, but fourth album by Neil Young, title song, right? Did I see you down in young girl's town with your mother in so much pain? I was almost there at the top of the stairs with her screaming in the rain. Did she wake you up to tell you that was only a change in plan? Dream up, let me fill your cup with promise of a man. Did I see you walking with the boy, though it was not hand in hand? And was somebody's face in a lonely place that you could understand? Did she wake you up, tell you that was only change in plan? Dream up, let me fill your cup with promise of a man. Do I see you give more than I can take? Will I only harvest some? As the days fly past, we lose our grasp or fuse it in the sun. Did she wake you up to tell you that was only change in plan? Dream up, let me fill your cup, the promise of a man. Dream up, let me fill your cup with the promise of a man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So up next, we have a very first timer. So we want to give her a big, warm welcome, Miss Hannah Mandel.
The tender leaves appear in May like the soft skin of a newborn. If only we could grow new skin. But for now, how happy I am to see these subtle shades of green that will darken into its richness and then have a new life in red and yellow. All of it is beautiful. And the tree in its nakedness shines. Okay, here's another one about colors. Here's another one about colors. These are just short little poems, musings, tender colors. No, shades of green. Green, many shades of green. Looking closely, there are oranges and yellow, light against dark, repeating and then repeating again. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, and then nothing. We think we can go on forever repeating and repeating, but we don't. We are not forever green, but green remains after us, and the laughter of small children and their beauty. Okay, and this one is called Light and Dark. She spoke of bonding, light, then dark, then light again, and said it makes for an interesting picture, creates depth. I took a walk to Bashfish Falls this late summer afternoon. The brilliant light cascaded through the tall trees. bathe in black shadows. The play of light and dark thrilled me. Without dark, light is not interesting. It is flat, deadly. I move towards the light, but there are always dark shadows. Okay, enough? I have a few more, but...
Would you like the music stand?
No, I could stand. Oh, here, this one is called Winter Grass. It's not the season, but...
You're not standing between your legs.
Oh, I'm sorry, you don't hear me?
Closer. We hear you.
Okay. This one is called Winter Grass. I know it's not winter, but I love winter grass in cold winter light. Brownish grass, brownish grays, yellow browns, infinite shades, infinite shapes, minimalistic abundance. Winter grass in cold winter light, showing its essential contours and colors. Now in sharp focus, now in dark shadows. I have the urge to touch their soft, woolly textures, trodden on, dead, promising renewed life. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You did it.
I did it.
Hannah. Please come back. Yeah. The thing the thing I love about art is you can't be wrong. So it's all welcome here. So we have two more tonight. And so penultimately, I'd like to introduce the Center for Peace Through Culture's very own Mr. Andreas Engold.
Am I stealing your stage? This is very impromptu of me, but as with a lot of things that happen in this space, the inspiration, it's just layer upon layer of inspiration. And I just tapped Kristen on the shoulder and I'm like, yeah, just throw me in there. So I'll see if I can get through this without rambling too much or botching it. But first off, Neil Young, I can't recall what it was, but I know I was traveling on some long drive when I first heard Harvest Moon. And, oh my God, I mean, it just, what a profound piece of music. And it harkened to my mom grew up in the prairies up in Saskatchewan, Canada. And she would have like countless stories about harvests, like really big epic stories. I don't know if you've been to Saskatchewan, but the prairies it's like a desert. Time stands still. And the farmers, their life is all about the harvest. And they have to take incredible risks. Sometimes there's drought, sometimes there's too much rain. There's so many different conditions, so they kind of have to play a bit of poker with their fields and hope that one of them is going to be productive and actually feed the family. I know in my mom's family, they went through a lot of really bad, really hard times, dry spells in particular. But, what comes to my mind is, the whole thing about a harvest and the planning that goes into a harvest is the anticipation of what are the conditions going to be like in this next year? How do I plant the seed to get the most productive harvest possible? And I can say, like, in my own quaint little way, like when I first moved to the Berkshires, I had a garden. I lived in Stephentown, New York for a while, and I had a modest garden in the back. And one of the things that I planted was corn, and every year it was so frustrating because, like, right before the corn was ready, the raccoons would steal the corn. I mean, it was like the timing was just so unbelievable. Well, I learned a trick from some farmers that you can plant your crop and do like a couple rows later on the outside to trick the raccoons so that when they're coming to test the corn, the ones on the inside are going to be ready. Great trick, right? I mean, so I'm going to jump to like a whole nother phase of my life, which was I grew up in Guatemala, in a really remote part of Guatemala, and I have to tell you, it seemed like everything could grow there. I mean, just things would grow out of the cracks. And my dad was, among many other things, an arsenal of skills that he had. He was a botanist. And we had I think over 400 different species of orchids. I mean, we were just like, we had a really rich garden. But we had peaches, we had avocado trees, we had orange trees, all like just unbelievably plentiful. I think we had 7 different kinds of bananas, which I think a lot of people don't even realize there's that many. We had dwarf bananas, we had ones that were blue, ones that were red, that were, plantains. So anyway, lots of things just growing abundantly. But one of the things that my dad brought to our area was pineapples. Pineapples was not native to where we were. And in the community where we lived, there, the Pocumchi Mayan culture, they had like a barter system. It was part of the culture where, people would. It wouldn't be stealing by our account. It would be stealing, but you would take things and leave something of equal value behind. That's the way the culture worked there. But what we discovered was with our pineapples, the pineapples were just like the most coveted thing there was anywhere. And it was like a waiting game. And I don't know if you know this about pineapples, but once you pick them, they don't ripen. It's a little bit different than any other fruit. You can't pick it early and then expect for it to get nice and sweet. You really have to wait until it's ready before you pick it. And so this was like a waiting game with us, and we were like, I don't think we ever ever harvested one of our own pineapples because everybody wanted them, but they were always picked prematurely. So anyway, I don't know what the moral of this story is. I just thought I had a bunch of little anecdotal things. But I do think that there is a message in there somewhere about anticipation of what you're going to get, what you want, what the value of things are, the risks, the risk taking. So I guess I'll just leave it there.
Thank you, Andreas. I forgot, I almost raised my hand to ask a question, which is just how do you know when a pineapple is ripe? Just by the color, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, does Guido? Any other questions we include? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. It's a color, yeah. Yeah, they're like golden, like the most beautiful pineapple you can imagine. Yeah. Right. I've never seen them on a tree. They're like, what are they? I don't. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. Pineapple bush. Learn something new every day, folks. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Last but absolutely, certainly not least, is the fabulous Miss Ronnie Cunningham. Watch the wire here.
Thank you. Yes, I've been watching it all night. First, a sort of public announcement. I am giving a program called A Childhood in Words and Song, Part 2, at the Congregational Church in Stockbridge on October 21 at 4 o'clock. And I hope I'll see some of you there. And this is the song that's in the upcoming press release. Oh, can ye sew cushions, and can ye sew sheets, and can ye sing Balloo when the bairn greets? Oh, he and Babedy, oh, he and Balaam, oh, he and Babedy, my bonny wee lamb. Hee-oh, wee-oh, what can I do wee you? Black's the life that I lead wee you. Moanie-oh, you little for to gie you. Oh, what can I do wee you? It's from Scotland. In the programme, it's because we had a Scottish maid when we ran a guest house in North London, and when she left, she was from Glasgow. I don't know if the song is from Glasgow, but in the programme, I'm singing it in her favour.
And you said it's at the Stockbridge Church?
Yes.
Yes.
4 o'clock
On the 21st.
It's a Saturday, right?
I believe so. Mm-hmm. Well, folks, that brings us to the conclusion here. So it's been a fabulous night. What fun. Please come back, new and old. We love you and want you. And I know there are folks who are not here and do watch on the reg. So, I know Julie's one of them. So hello to all our fans. We love you. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much.